I did some research, and it seems that Private Henry Tandy was the highest decorated British soldier of World War I. Behind his names, you find the letters VC, DCM, MM, which stands for Military Medal, Distinguished Conduct Medal, and the Victoria Cross, the highest award for gallantry for soldiers of Great Britain, the Commonwealth, and the former British Empire. Hence, it seems that Private Tandy was a great fighter. But Tandy also had a compassionate side. He refused to shoot at wounded or disarmed enemy soldiers. And one of those he spared later said the following: "That man came so near to killing me that I thought I should never see Germany again." The man who said these words, he said it to Neville Chamberlain in 1938 when the British Prime Minister visited the spared man to appease him in his Bavarian mountain retreat on the Obersalzberg. The soldier who did not get shot by Tandy in 1918 was the man with a little mustache, whose name was always be connected with genocide and Nazism. It seems to me that the devil himself is a nicer guy than the man with a little mustache who made his fairly common first name so infamous that no German parent would give that name to their children anymore. The story is, of course, disputed. It might be that the Austrian private in his megalomaniac delusions needed to be spared, not by anyone, but by the highest decorated British soldier of World War I. He always thought that fate would spare him from all harm. And when Tandy was asked, he stated he could not remember the faces of the soldiers he did not shoot. There were too many. If it really was the Austrian private who stared into the barrel of his gun, Tandy imagined if he had known who the Austrian private would turn out to be, he might have had second thoughts. But probably he would not. Tandy did his duty. His medals testify to his courage and to his professionalism. He was not a man who was prone to hate, or someone who in the heat of battle bans the provisions of the Geneva Convention. No, not shooting wounded, unarmed, or surrendering enemies is one thing. Loving them seems to be a much taller order. How do you love the Austrian private? War has a tendency to turn some perfectly normal people into violent sadists. How do you love them? And at the moment, there's a lot of bloodletting going on in the world. How do you love those who pull the triggers? I wish I could give you a compelling answer. I wish I knew how to turn hate into love. I don't. However, what I know is this: enemies need to be turned into friends, or the cycle of violence and war will never end. After the Austrian private was done with Europe and fled his accountability by killing himself, there was reason enough to hate the German people until hell freezes over. But there was a mixture of pragmatism and learned history lessons that compelled the victors of the worst war this planet has ever seen not to trample the losers into the dust again, but this time to help them up and turn them into friends. Charles de Gaulle became the first French head of state to visit West Germany. He brought a message of reconciliation in the language that he wanted never to speak again. In front of German soldiers, he quoted in German Karl Zuckmayer, an author who was persecuted by the Nazis. "Yesterday, it was our duty to be enemies. Today, it is our right to be brothers," de Gaulle said. Today, when you drive from Germany into France or France into Germany, there is no fortified border anymore. No guards, no fence, nothing. There is a sign that on one side reads, "Welcome to France," and on the other side, "Welcome to Germany." And when I went there the last time, I missed the border altogether. I was looking for something that looked like a border, and by looking for that, I overlooked the signs. Loving your enemies works. I still don't know how it's done on an emotional level. But I know that loving one's enemy is one of the most powerful instruments of positive change. And maybe understanding emotions is a key to grasping the power of this concept. Much of Christian theology and practice centers around self-control. Positive emotions can be powerful. Artists like dancers and actors, singers and instrumentalists and many more use this power to open the world to us, to promote love, justice, and peace. But the key to their success is to channel these emotions, to control them so that they communicate something meaningful. Unfortunately, emotions also work in the other directions, and they can take us to the dark sides of our characters where pure evil resides. A lynch mob is also driven by powerful emotions. However, looking at those dark emotions with a clear head, we recognize that they are a monster we do not wish to encourage. And in contrast to these raw feelings, there is a spiritual power within us that makes us jive with the universe. This power connects us with a divine reality that lies beyond time and space and that has a calming influence on us. It makes us part of a unified truth that goes forth from our Creator and that calms the waves that our passions create. Greek philosophers explain this contrast with a dichotomy of flesh and spirit, one good, the other bad. But the Jewish way of thinking about this is different. Humans that are created in the image of God are whole, undivided, and complete. All what makes us human belongs together. In us lives darkness next to light, and one without the other is meaningless. And in Lutheran thought, we recognize that our holiness exists only in contrast to our sinfulness. We are sinners and saints at the same time. So what we need to seek is balance between our dark urges and our desire to follow Jesus. We need to be tied to the messiness of this world and the holiness of heaven because both are inescapable realities. Both live in us like hungry wolves that vie for food. And the question is, which of the beasts do we feed? There's only one answer that leads us to discover our true humanity. We need to feed the wolf. We want to grow strong. Hopefully that is the wolf that wants us to follow Christ. The Austrian private hated the meekness of Christianity. He saw no benefit in loving the enemy. He wanted to destroy them. He did not want to turn the other cheek. He wanted to put bullets into their brains. He fed one of these wolves a lot of dark red meat. And the result was unmitigated evil on a scale no one assumed to be possible. And in Lutheran understanding, we don't retreat from the messiness of this world onto the mountaintops or desert retreats, so feeding the right wolf becomes easier. Of course, when we remove ourselves from these moments where our decision to follow Christ really makes a difference, nothing substantial can interfere with our illusions of holiness. What does it matter what you do or think when you sit alone on a mountaintop or in a desert cave? Lutherans are called to stay in the muck and shovel dirt until a world emerges that Christ would recognize as a kingdom of God. We need community because we need others to help us overcome our dark inclinations. And maybe we personally cannot love the enemy at the moment, but when a few of us put our hearts together, we might fake it until we make it. And I am convinced that Charles de Gaulle made a political calculation and then he faked it until it became clear that all his fakery had changed something. that Germany and France were not arch enemies anymore. And when that happened, I guess he didn't need it to fake it as badly as he had to fake it before. He always advocated for a unified Europe because he was always aware that an isolated Germany could be a powerful enemy of France. But he also came to appreciate Germany's rich cultural and intellectual heritage, and that his people were hardworking, resourceful, and resilient. And those qualities could benefit all of Europe, including France. Peace, justice, and love are God's plan for all of creation. Loving one's enemy, no matter how absurd that sounds, is a way to get there. Amen.